Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with my disappointing reads of 2018. I'm not really one to dwell so much on the negative things that I read. That's not something that I do because I tend to try and find the good in any book, even if it's not for me. But I thought I would just do a quick list. I'm not going to spend too much time outlining everything that I can't stand about these books. I'll just give you the highlights and then we'll move on because I have my favorites videos coming up. And I just really want to talk about my favourite books, really. So the first book on my list, and I literally just went through my list of books that I read from January all the way to December, so it's just in the order that I read them, rather than, you know, most hated. I don't actually think of it in those terms. So the first book that comes to mind is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I had seen Gone Girl, and so I didn't want to read Gone Girl because I already knew the twist. And I thought I'll pick up something else, and most people had recommended Sharp Objects. There's a couple of reasons why I don't like this book. The first thing that I remember thinking was that I just couldn't stand any of the characters in the book. None of them brought me any joy or pleasure in reading them. And even when you're reading a thriller or a psychological thriller or something where you have really unreliable narrators, sometimes there's a hook that can get you into it, like you just want to find out more. I didn't really care in this book. So that was the first reason. And what I now know is that it's sort of comes across more as a domestic thriller, and I really am not a big fan of domestic thrillers, I've come to realize. So that's probably another deciding factor. Red Rising by Pierce Brown is not a bad book, but I didn't fall in love with it when I read it. And I found that really sad because it's sci-fi and it's such a favorite book of so many people, and a lot of people whose reading tastes I have things in common with, and they all really loved it. So I went into it going, oh, I'm going to really enjoy this, and then because of the hype, I think it just fell flat. It was very average. It's not a bad book by any means, and I'm only putting it on here because it was a disappointing read, not because it was a bad book. It didn't gel with me. I do have the other two books in the first trilogy, which I'm planning on reading in January, so I'm going to give it another go, and I'm hoping that it will sort of elevate the series a little bit more for me, but the first book was just average. As I Descended by Robin Talley is a young adult thriller book that I'd heard really good things about, and I was really excited to read. It was supposed to be a really dark Macbeth retelling with female-female relationships, and it was fine. It was okay. I guess I wanted more, and the plot felt very transparent. Where by Meg Caddy was a book that was listed in the CBA shortlist in 2017, and I really wanted to read all of those books, and it was the one that I kept putting off because it had really mixed reviews, and I still don't really understand how it got onto the shortlist, although in a lot of ways I do, because the shortlist is picked by adults and not by kids, and I think that they tend to go for the more highbrow sort of stuff, but even then it wasn't great, and I can't even remember the details of the story, which tells you a lot about, which gives you a whole list of reasons there why it's on my disappointing reads, because I can't even remember what it's about. Mun Mun by Jessie Andrews. I was really excited about this book because I thought it was such a cool concept, and I just found the main character to be really, really frustrating to read about and self-absorbed. And I know that part of that is the point behind the book, because it's all about consumerism and how power corrupts and how money corrupts. And that stuff was really cool. I wish I'd felt a little bit more affection for the main character and what he went through, but I just didn't. A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. I just found that this novella was unnecessary. There was nothing in it that was interesting for me. And even though they added in new point of view characters, they were not point of view characters that I really wanted to read about, which just makes it even more depressing. The Young Elites by Marie Lu. I picked this up as someone was clearing out, and I thought I'll read it because so many people have raved about the series, and I liked Warcross by Marie Lu. I don't get it. I'm coming at this now as an adult, and I know that going back and reading YA that's a few years old, I think that's where my problem is, because now I want more. And I have sort of started drifting more back into the adult readership books this year, and I know that I've been doing that because I want my young adult books to be sophisticated, and even middle grade books. I think you can be sophisticated and still cater to the younger audiences, and I don't feel that that was particularly the case. And also, I didn't like the main character. I'm really sensing a trend here. If I don't like the main character, the book's done. The Bone Season and The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. I gave both books a try. I didn't get it. I don't get the hype around them. I honestly don't. They're good. They're fine. I don't understand why people talk about them like they're fantastic and amazing, because there are so many slow parts in it, and I'm just, come on, get the story happening. I wanted answers, and I'm still waiting for answers, and I'm not going to get answers because I'm not going to keep reading the series. Wild Like Me by Louise Pentland. I won this in a giveaway, so I thought I'd give it a go. It's sort of really chick lit, and unsurprisingly, I wasn't a big fan of it. Main character was a self-obsessed person who just really kept judging herself and others based on expectations of what she thought she should be, and I don't like that. I really don't, because I try not to conform to that sort of belief, and I try not to judge myself based on what other people think I should be, and I don't like reading about it because it makes me feel really bad, and I think it sends a terrible message to people. Granted, it is aimed at adults, but adults get insecure too, and I don't like that. Read Me Like a Book by Liz Kessler, which was another female-female relationship book. I think it was an unrequited romance between a student and a teacher, I think. I can't even remember the details. It's unmemorable. The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I really wanted to like this because it's a classic sci-fi book. It is written by a really famous female sci-fi author, and I did not connect to the main character, and I didn't care about his journey, and it just made me so sad. The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. It's no surprise, I'm not a huge fan of The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. I know. It's okay, like there was nothing wrong with it. I enjoyed the series. And the same thing with Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. It's fine, but I don't get the hype. There's a lot of really wonderful representation, and that's totally fine, but it's everything else in the story that drove me nuts. So for example, in The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, I really loved Felicity's character, and Monty annoyed the hell out of me. I couldn't stand him. Then we flip to The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, and I really liked Monty and Percy. I loved Percy the whole way through. Percy was awesome. But I loved Monty and Percy in that book. And Felicity drove me bonkers in her book. She is uncompromising, but it's uncompromising in a way that I don't think it was not flattering for her. And that's fine. You can have an unflattering character, but I didn't connect with her because she was unwilling to believe that her best friend growing up could like lots of different things, and it made her less of, and Felicity just labelled her a conformist because of liking one particular thing like fashion or clothes or whatever. I don't get that. And also the stories have really weird magical realism fantasy elements woven through them, and they're cool, but I don't get the point of them. Hidden by Marianne Curley was another book that featured angels, and it's a young adult book. It just felt really childish to me, and I read the first book. I had the second and third book to read, and I just had to put the books down because after the first book I couldn't do it. And the last book was Oh Naughty Night, which I can't even remember the author for, but it was a short story romance book that I picked up somewhere, and it was just not the greatest. I've talked about it recently. It was not great. I don't really like the depiction of the main female character. I thought she was super shallow and very judgy, and I don't like that, as I've discussed before. So those are the disappointing reads that I had for 2018. Considering that I have read over 250 books, that is not bad to have, less than 20 books that were really disappointing enough for me to actually want to say that they're disappointing. In the comments below, let me know what have been your disappointing books in 2018. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.